The Turn is presented by Callahans General Store, helping to keep your yard in golf course condition year-round for 45 years. It's always a good day to make it a Callahans Day.
All right, welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Time for At the Turn, and for our At the Turn segment, we're happy to bring on our very special guest each and every week, Charlie Wilson, President, CEO, and General Manager of Callahan General Store, also golf enthusiast and legendary lifetime Longhorn, Austinite, and pro golfer Omar Uresti joining us as well. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good morning, all right. Good morning.
All right, thank you guys for joining us. Oh man, we got so much to cover here. We got a ton to get into. First, let's start with Scotty Scheffler and his dominance. I want to get you guys' thoughts about this. I got a bunch of Scotty Scheffler stats because there are a ton of them out there because what he's done, what he's been doing is so impressive. But how about this one? First player in history to win the Masters by 3 or more strokes twice in a 3-year span. And he's the third golfer to win the Masters as a favorite in the last 40 years, Tiger Woods and Fred Couples. I want to start with you, Omar. Man, golf is a sport. It's all about pressure and handling pressure. And you know all about that, man. You can become your own enemy psychologically, mentally, trying to, psych yourself out and overcome those obstacles. Scotty Scheffler, with the pressure of being the best golfer in the world, actually is performing up to those expectations. Still in the biggest stage in golf, he's actually separating from the rest of the group, the best golfers in the world. What are your thoughts about the way that he's playing right now, man? I mean, he's obviously Tiger comes to mind. It's the best we've seen since Tiger, obviously.
Yeah, it's just incredible what he did on Sunday and on the weekend. Just he's playing some incredible golf and hitting some great shots and scrambling like, really nobody else has in a long time. His short game is keeps him in it. He's had a couple of chip ins during the tournament. It's just unbelievable to watch. And it's exciting to watch too, because, he's making pars and birdies from some places that you wouldn't think would be able to happen, but he's been doing it. Just so much fun to watch. And he's handling the pressure great. He hardly anything, if you look at his demeanor, looks like it's bothering him when he's out there on the golf course. He's just so steady and just so even keel. No really facial expression changes or body language changes. He just keeps on going.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about it, Charlie? I mean, he's the master champion. He's got 3 wins this year and 0 rounds over par.
It's just an amazing run that the guy is on. You kind of look back at some historical streaks in the game of golf and people playing at high levels. And yeah, it's very Tiger-esque, back in when Tiger was really just rolling along and just kind of playing golf like nobody else plays golf. I mean, history also has a few other good citations here, but again, when it happened, maybe it wasn't quite the same kind of field and caliber of play. But another Texan, go back and look at Byron Nelson in 1945. Byron Nelson won 11 straight golf tournaments in 1945. In that year, he won 18 of the 30 tournaments he entered. He had 65 top 10 finishes in a row. The guy, so there's some standards out there. But again, let's also point out that was during the World War II period, and a lot of the golfers that were very competitive at that point in time were afraid and playing around or serving in the military. But let's not diminish what Scotty Scheffler is doing, because it's a whole different kind of field of players out there, as Omar knows. Omar can roll it out there with anybody on any given day, but to see what Scotty Scheffler's doing, you just kind of go, this guy's lapping the field right now. He is just running faster and getting it in the hole faster than anybody else in an amazing way.
And one of the reasons is because he has improved his putting. That was kind of the big flaw in his game at one point. And he credits Phil Kenyon, I believe, is the coach that he brought in last year to help him with his putting. And I want to ask you about this, Mark, because I don't know how many coaches you have. He said that one of the things that he was weary of is he didn't want to offend basically Randy Smith. He didn't want to offend the coach that he had by bringing in somebody else. He said after talking to Randy, like, it was all good. No egos here. We're just trying to get the best product out there. How many coaches does a pro golfer have? How many? Is it just one coach, or can you have a putting coach and then another coach? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, some guys have, multiple coaches like that. They'll have the swing coach, they'll have their putting coach or short game coach. I have, in my time, I've always had a swing coach, or, at least one swing coach. And then every now and then I would go look at or work with different putting instructors. Worked with Dave Stockton's a couple of times, and Stan Utley a couple of times, a guy named Marius Philmalter a couple of times. So, it's just finding something and that clicks and is relatable, that they can get you to understand, and hopefully it'll click soon, or, quickly, like it has with Scotty. He putted well, but he didn't putt Tiger-esque when Tiger was in his prime. But he did make a lot of good putts, but he also, left a few out there. He could have won by a lot more if he'd have putted like Tiger. But I think he's, it's incredible what he's done. And he did make some great ones. So it's obviously coming along.
Hey, let me ask you about this, Charlie, because the storylines were great for the opening round and for the first two rounds, right? You had to live. First of all, so we're talking about live. How did you guys think? Because the storyline early on, you had Bryson DeChambeau at the top of the board, right, with Scheffler. So you had the live storyline still up there. Rory was still playing well. So you had that storyline, of course, Tiger, right? You had the Tiger storyline. So I think they had so many great storylines. The ratings were really up for the first 2 days. What were you guys' thoughts about the live storyline? Did it resonate, or did it just kind of die out? Did the live guys play well enough that they're going to be a threat now going forward, or is this something that really didn't play a huge role in the storyline of you, Charlie?
They're good. The live golfers are really good golfers. When you get into a major championship, they want to show. You could tell that they show up kind of in force and want to represent their tour and want to play well. And you saw Bryson come out, hot out of the gate. And you can see that they got the skills, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they're playing tournaments that are 3/4 the length of the tour tournament. So they can show for 2-3 days. And they're accustomed to doing that, and they're professionals, and they can play golf, great golf, for 4 or 5 days if they need to. But I think the pressure element of golf that their tour represents probably over time doesn't translate as well in major tour events, because they're just not accustomed to the pressure. Now, the top tier players, the Koepkas, the DeChambeaus, the Rahms, and those guys, they're going to play well and they're going to show. But I think though, once John Rahm's to me a good case in point. He got his money. So last year he was fighting to win the Masters. He needed to win the Masters because somewhere in his mind there was the money that he was thinking about from the Live Tour. Now this year he shows up and he was defending, and he played respectably, but he wasn't competing. And it's like it just looked to me like he had money in his pocket.
He looked satisfied. What you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with. That's a really good point about the competitive edge that you still feel when you're still trying to earn it every day out there. I want to ask you guys both about this real quick before we move on, because there's some rumors out there in the golf world that I want to ask you guys about. But the ratings were up pretty high for the first and the second day of the Masters, but they were down for the final round. There's a narrative developing, and I want to get you guys' thoughts about it. Is that Scotty Scheffler is so dominant that it's boring, that it's not, that he's so dominant, and that it's not even, that's why the ratings were down, that it's not as compelling because he's so dominant down the stretch, and he was. I mean, he won by 3 or more strokes. Is that something that golf could be concerned about, that you don't have enough of the competition late, because this guy is, like you said, kind of lapping the field? It reminds me of what UConn is dealing with this, right, in college basketball. UConn just won their back-to-back national titles, and they've been beating everybody by double digits. The ratings were down. The women's tournament had higher ratings, and the women's final championship had higher ratings, just because the product was a little bit more entertaining and compelling down the stretch. Is that do you guys, and if you feel this narrative at all, or is that just a bunch of BS?
I think it's, with me, yeah, it's, but Tiger was kind of the same way. Tiger dominated as well, but I think Tiger's demeanor and excitement gave the fans a little bit more. So there could be a little bit to what's going on there, what's being said, but I mean, he's exciting to watch. His game is exciting to watch, even though he's so level-headed and with his demeanor and everything, it might not be as exciting. He doesn't do the fist pumps and that until after the tournament, like he did walking off the green. He finally gave it the double and yelled out and and yelled out, yeah, real loud. And so, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully, some people will be coming back to watch him on the weekends, because he's an exciting golfer to watch. At least his game is.
Like that.
I think the on the build had everything to do with Tiger in the first 2 days. Is he going to make the cut? Can he handle the rigors of the course? And so the first 2 days, the audiences beyond the usual golf audience were intrigued. Here's the guy, and he was the guy, and he still is the guy. He is so much the face of the game. And so, when he came sputtering out on Saturday, all you got to do is go online, and check and see how Tiger's doing. And you can say, well, I guess I'm not going to watch golf today, because, he was struggling on Saturday. And I think that has an effect on the Masters and any tournament that he's playing in. If he's not, continuing his, surge, the ratings are going to sag. And then, so you have Scotty Scheffler, and then, okay, well, who's contending? Well, it wasn't the usual kind of spicy contenders. It wasn't Rory McIlroy who wears his emotions on his sleeve. It wasn't Jordan Spieth, who very much is animated and wears his emotions on the sleeve, and is very interesting to watch playing golf. Scotty just kind of grinded everybody down, and I guess maybe the viewers too.
No, that it kind of reminds me. I'm sorry, Patrick. He's gonna get annoyed by this, but people refer to Tim Duncan like that, right? The big fundamental. He was just so fundamentally sound and just went about his business. It wasn't to celebrate. He didn't do it with a lot of flair, but he was elite at it. And it kind of reminds me of the Tim Duncan of it. He's just so damn good. People may say it's boring. You say it's boring because it's so effective. And there is nobody right now that can be considered a peer of Scotty Scheffler. Let me ask you guys about this, because I saw an ex-PGA Tour star brought up an old rumor in the golf world. Mark Lai is his name. I'm sure you are familiar with him. He was on Outkick's podcast, and he brought up some rumors of Tiger Woods and PED use. He said, yes, it is, except for the people in Tiger's corner. You better shut up about it. Nobody ever gone out like that. Nobody's ever said that. I'm saying it right now. There's just no doubt. And I would say about 80 to 90% of people out there know something ain't right when talking about Tiger and possible PED use or rumors of PED use. Is this in the golf world? It is how much I would say, how much substance do you guys put into that conversation? Is this just something that's on the grassy knoll of the golf world, or is this something that's kind of creeping into the more credible circles of the golf world? Uh-oh.
Well,
that silence said it all right there. That said it all right there.
I'll
Grassy knoll.
All right. I'll give a comment, because Omar will have his point of view. And here's the thing, to me, Tiger was injured. And so Mark Lai, what do you mean by PED? Tiger was injured, and to recover from his injuries, he probably was on a regimen that included, something that would help his injuries heal in such a way. Hey, I tore a labrum in my shoulder, and they gave me an injection, and as a steroid, and I never had to take another injection again, and it worked. So Rod, you've had injuries as well. So to heal from injuries, you got to do some things. So is a steroid a PED? I guess if you could stretch it far enough, you could. That said, Tiger did get buffed up. And so some people are going to look at it and go, well, how'd that happen so fast? Okay, be skeptical, cynical, or whatever you might say, but your eyes don't lie.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And, and I think Mark was talking about probably a little further back in his career, all of a sudden when he did get kind of buff, and, same time as Barry Bonds and all those guys as well, all of a sudden they got these, their physiques are, more shredded and everything, and just so much more solid. And I think, it's hard to say. We do drug testing on the PGA Tour. It's only two people know the results, the doctor and the commissioner has the final say on how it's handled. So we don't know what, there's a couple of rumors out there about other guys that did, they disappeared for a month or two, and then with an injury, and then they would come back, so, it's just, we just don't know what all's going on behind the scenes. And I know, with the whole thing that Vijay Singh had to deal with the antler juice or whatever that was.
Spray.
Yeah.
I remember that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much that stuff would work, but yeah. And like, Charlie said, I had, I had surgery on my calf a little over a month ago for some skin cancer. And I actually went in to get something looked at on the incision, and she gave me a little injection of steroid to help it heal a little bit better, because it wasn't quite healing properly. So, it's out there, it's being used, but to what extent, we do not know.
All right, before we let you guys go, I have one more question, and this is kind of off the cuff. We have I get into this discussion all the time about the most violated social contracts. People driving slow in the left-hand lane, people not using their blinker, people not washing their hands, just social contracts that people violate, that it really annoys me. What is the most violated social contract on the golf course?
Ooh. Oh, you want to start with that one?
At least the one that annoys you the most. What social contract violation annoys you the most on the golf course?
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I'll start. The one that really kind of gets me is if someone has hit a stray golf ball and it's heading toward people, you gotta yell you gotta holler, you gotta, someone could be in their backyard garden and minding their own business, using some of that Callahans stuff and then get nailed in the back of the head because someone didn't yell. So you know what? That's probably number one for me. The second one is I don't like when people go into a bunker and hit out of it and forget and don't go back and cover their tracks. That's the other. That's the number two for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bunker's a big deal. Bunker's a big deal. I mean, when COVID came along, they, where everybody was afraid to touch things, and so people stopped breaking bunkers. But then you got all these new golfers that have no golf etiquette whatsoever. They don't know where to drive the golf carts. I've seen people playing at Onion Creek, and they were driving within 5 feet of the green. You do not do that.
Okay, there you go.
So it's unbelievable. And dress code, to me, depending on where you're at, clubs have certain dress codes, and Onion Creek's been having some issues because we got all these new members that are new golfers, and it's just, a lot of hats being worn backwards, which I'm not a big fan of. I grew up in Onion Creek, and so did Charlie. And back in its heyday, hats were always forward, shirts were always tucked in. We walked into the clubhouse, and the main clubhouse, hats came off. If we went up to eat in the dining room, the men had to wear jackets. and we had to wear slacks. We couldn't wear jeans in the main clubhouse. And now,
Wow.
Things have they've let things slide so much that it's pretty difficult to return to what it was. So hopefully, but hats on backwards is one thing that really gets me. And I walked up to several guys. I walked up to like a 6'4" guy a couple of weeks ago and asked him to turn his hat around. And
wow.
Lo and behold, this is on the driving range. So he tees off and he's making the turn and he's got his hat on backwards again. So I go over to the marshal and I was like, do you have any say on his hat? He's like, I'll go say something to him, but he had to be told twice. Shouldn't have to be.
Respect. Come on, man. Respect the game. Respect the game. It's a gentleman's game.
Exactly.
Well, we respect and appreciate you two gentlemen as well. And Charlie, don't worry. I'll tell everybody about Callahans General Store. Get on over there, folks. Get everything you need to make sure your lawn is in top-notch shape. All your fertilizers, your soil, your amendments. They got it all. The weed and feed. They got it all there at Callahans. And also, they got the knowledge, more importantly. Just trust me. Go over there and you ask them all the questions about how to make sure your yard is looking top-notch in golf course condition, and they will take care of you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Omar.
Thanks.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Have a good day.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Great stuff. I love that. Most violated social contracts on the golf course. Shit, Omar got a little round up, man. Turn that hat around. Turn the hat around the right way.